If I was going to ask you what was your first pocket knife, what would you say? Keep it in your head. Don't tell me right now, but what would you say? Could you guess mine? I am 37 years old. So what would you guess would be the first pocket knife I had when I was about 16? I think it was 16. Yeah, because my dad wanted me not to be younger. I had very overprotective parents. They wanted me to have a knife too young. What would you guess my first pocket knife was at 16 years of age? Okay, if you guessed a Swiss Army knife, you would be correct. But what model of Swiss Army knife would you guess? It's the classic. The classic, my friend. Who didn't love this classic as a kid? The Swiss Army knife was the epitome of everything that was cool about. This was before tactical. This was before everybody was coming out with sweet stuff. You were sweet if you were rocking the Swiss Army knife. Everybody was like, this is an ingenious little knife. It did all sorts of cool stuff. There was nothing like it. That's what made them so cool. It turned the knife from just a knife into a tool. And it really set the path for all the multi-tools and crazy Swiss Army knives. I even saw one of the Swiss Army knives, the one that has every knife or every tool ever created on there. That just looked completely impractical, and it was like freaking this wide and like every crazy thing you could think of. That was definitely a little bit overkill, but I did see that one on the internet somewhere, and then I looked it up on their website, and sure enough. But what was the original? For those who don't know, who didn't come up in the old days, what was in this that made it so sweet? I'm going to show you. If you don't know already, if not, if you do remember these, then this will be a little walk down memory lane. But here's what was cool. So, they had, of course, the knife, which was, for the most part, fairly useless except for opening up letters. This exact one I have had since I was, like I said, 16. Same one. I had a blue one as well, but the blue one broke while I was opening up a box with it. This one did not. This one stood the test of time. But you could basically open up a box with this, maybe whittle a little bit of wood, but you can't do any real heavy-duty cutting or carving or anything like that with this. But, again, when you're young, this was freaking sweet. And you could think of all sorts of adventures and binds you could get out of with just using this little classic Swiss Army knife. So it had the knife. I think this is only 1.5 inches long. It's still, it's still fairly sharp. I have honestly never, ever sharpened this thing, and it still does okay. It's not great. You're not gonna work any miracles with this, but it's okay. So it had the knife. It also has the nail file. Pretty good. I've also used this to file down random pieces of metal that just have had little burrs on it, so it does work for that too. It has the screwdriver, the flathead screwdriver tip on it, which I have used more often than that. I've used it as a nail cleaner, probably more than any other thing. I did try to use it as a screwdriver once. A couple times I was able to pry some things with it, but it put so much torque on this while I was getting out the screw, I basically stopped using it for that. So I don't know that I would use it unless the screw was fairly loose or you're just kind of trying to tighten it down just a wee bit. Again, I wouldn't recommend it. It puts a lot of torque on it, and it felt like it was going to break it. So I wouldn't use it for that. But it makes a hell of a nail cleaner, I'll tell you that much. So that was that tool. Now it also on the back has these scissors. You could like maybe get up in here and trim your stash a little bit. Again, this was good for cutting just little things, threads, a little bit of line, fishing line. I use a ton for fishing line. And little bits of cordage. You know, it does take a little bit to get through a 550 paracord with this. Maybe, I think I've maybe used it for some envelopes or stuff like that. But I have used this, again, more than I've actually used the knife. I've used the scissors. I think I cut a big sheet of plastic, like a tarp, all kinds of stuff. So I've used it. Again, the spring is still very springy, and if it ever gets unspringy, you can just kind of lift this up and like stretch this out a little bit to like bring back its springiness. But those are the scissors, and they have also a toothpick. I don't know about you, but if you ever had one of these, did you ever use the toothpick for anything ever? First of all, did you ever use the toothpick as a toothpick? That's what I'd like to know, because I have not. It always had like pocket lint on it and weird stuff. I just really didn't want to feel like I wanted to clean my teeth with it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you actually use this toothpick to pick your teeth. I'd be interested to know that. Again, I have never used this for anything at all. So there's that. But my most used tool on this knife, I would say besides the scissors, was the last piece in here, the tweezers. I have used these tweezers more than anything. And I've used them for slivers. Now, I reach for these as my first sliver pulling utensil, even before I reach for the regular tweezers in the medicine cabinet. Why is that? Well, these are just super fine tweezers. They just can get like deep down in there. Like the ones in the medicine cabinet, like they're kind of like, the ends on them are kind of like a little fat. Like they don't really like get in there. And if you have a small sliver, you got to use like this little tiny piece to like get up in there. And like, because you can't ever pull it out like right at the first try. You got to get like multiple little multiple little pulls on it. And then finally you can kind of dig it out a little bit and then you can grip it. But I use these tweezers from this knife every time I have a sliver. So I would say, honestly, the tweezer is the most used tool that I have used on this knife since I've had it at the age of 16. Kind of the downside to this Swiss Army is the fact of how small it is. The classic, it's very small. As you can tell, it's like smaller than like an index finger, which means it is elusive. I have lost this many, many times only to find it again. And it's one of those, it's just too small. It comes on it has the key ring on it, and I tried to use the key ring for a while, but when you have this on a keychain, it actually bashes it up. These little pieces start to kind of fall off, especially if they start losing their kind of grip inside here. And I've never had luck. Like I said, I had it on a keychain for a short while, and I did notice I would start losing stuff, or it was just getting too bashed up. So I just decided I'm going to take it off the key ring. Now I just keep it in a desk drawer, but that's that. So go ahead in the comments, put down what was your first knife, and if it was the classic Swiss Army knife, the little one, Let me know what age you had it and how long you've had it. And if you still have it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you like anything that we're doing here. And hit the notification bell to be notified. If you don't want to be notified, then don't hit the bell. If you think everything we do sucks, leave a shitty comment and leave a thumbs down. That works too. And I'll see you next time.